Continuing our reading from the Catholic Mirror of September 16, 1893. The second reference to Sunday is to be found in St. John's Gospel, 20th chapter, 26 to 29 verses. And after 8 days, the disciples were again within, and Thomas with them. The resurrected Redeemer availed himself of this meeting of all the apostles to confound the incredulity of Thomas, who had been absent from the gathering on Easter Sunday evening. This would have furnished a golden opportunity to the Redeemer to change the day in the presence of all his disciples. But we state the simple fact that, on this occasion, as on Easter Day, not a word is said of prayer, praise, or reading of the Scriptures. Here's a note on that Scripture, John 20, verses 26 to 29. It is a Protestant claim that this passage refers to Sunday. The Catholic Mirror not only notices it, but admits the correctness of the claim. But how anybody can find in this text a reference to Sunday or the first day of the week is a mystery. The previous meeting was on the first day of the week. The word says so. From this to the next first day of the week would be just 1 week. Now, in 1 week, there are just 7 days and no more. But the sacred word says that this meeting was after 8 days. How anybody can get more than 8 days into a week is a mystery of numbers and of the calendar, to say nothing of its confusion of the sacred word. That is bewildering to the plain minds. However, this mystery is no greater nor any more bewildering than that by which Sunday has been substituted for the Sabbath of the Lord. The third instance on record wherein the apostles were assembled on Sunday is to be found in Acts chapter 2 verse 1. The apostles were all of one accord in one place. Feast of Pentecost, Sunday. Now, will this text afford to our biblical Christian brethren a vestige of hope that Sunday substitutes at length Saturday? For when we inform them that the Jews had been keeping this Sunday for 1500 years, and have been keeping it for 18 centuries after the establishment of Christianity, at the same time keeping the weekly Sabbath, there is not to be found either consolation or comfort in this text. Pentecost is the 50th day after the Passover, which was called the Sabbath of Weeks, consisting of 7 times 7 days, and the day after the completion of the 7th weekly Sabbath day was the chief day of the entire festival, necessarily Sunday. Note on number 3, Pentecost was not on Sunday. What Israelite would not pity the cause that would seek to discover the origin of the keeping of the first day of the week in his festival of Pentecost that has been kept by him for nearly over 3,000 years? Who but the biblical Christian, driven to the wall for a pretext to excuse his sacrilegious desecration of the Sabbath, always kept by Christ and his apostles, would have resorted to the Jewish festival of Pentecost for his act of rebellion against his God and his teacher, the Bible? Once more, the biblical apologists for the change of day call our attention to the Acts chapter 20, verse 6 and 7. And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, etc. To all appearances, the above text should furnish some consolation to our disgruntled biblical friends, but being a moral part, we cannot allow them even this crumb of comfort. We reply by the axiom, quod probat nimis probat nihil. What proves too much proves nothing. Let us call attention to the same Acts chapter 2, verse 46. And they, continuing daily in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, etc. Who does not see at a glance that the text produced to prove the exclusive prerogative of Sunday vanishes into thin air, and ignis fatuus, when placed in juxtaposition with the 46th verse of the same chapter? What the biblical Christian claims by this text for Sunday alone, the same authority St. Luke informs us was common to every day of the week, and they continuing daily in the temple and breaking bread from house to house. One text more presents itself, apparently leaning toward a substitution of Sunday for Saturday. It is taken from St. Paul, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 1 and 2. Now concerning the collection for the saints, on the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him a store, etc. Presuming that the request of St. Paul had been strictly attended to, let us call attention to what had been done each Saturday during the Savior's life and continued for 30 years after, as the book of Acts informs us. Here's that note on number 4. Our Savior ate the Passover with his disciples the night before his crucifixion, and he was crucified on Friday. Friday, therefore, was the first day of the feast of the Passover, or of unleavened bread. The morrow after that day was the day from which the 50 days to Pentecost were to be counted, according to Leviticus chapter 23, verse 6, 11, 15, and 16. The morrow after that being the Sabbath day according to the commandment, Luke chapter 23, verse 56, and the first day of the 50, it is evident that the 50th day itself would not be Sunday but Saturday. Anybody can demonstrate this for himself who will begin with the morrow after any Friday and count 50. And as the Passover was always the 14th day of the first month, without any reference whatever to any particular day of the week, it were impossible that the Pentecost should always be necessarily Sunday as stated. Of course, this note, true though it be, has no bearing upon this question as between Catholics and Protestants, as both claim, the Catholics originally, that this particular Pentecost was on Sunday. This note is inserted merely in the interest of accuracy and not with the intention that it should have any bearing on the controversy in the text. Now, the followers of the Master met every